All right, you all. So welcome back. It's your girl, Carlika Katrina Basnight-Menendez. Yes, all of that. And guess what, you all? You already know what we're talking about. You've heard me say it over and over again. Menopause, menopause, menopause. So one day I'm going to actually cut a track for that, okay? Look, don't y'all record that part, but I might cut a CD or something. I don't know. Use my singing abilities for something else and my theatrical, all my theater stuff as well. You never know. So stay tuned. We might come out with a whole menopause show or players. I don't know. But anyways, you all, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have an amazing guest with us on today. She's called the Vagina Coach. Yes, you heard me right. The Vagina Coach. You all don't inbox me if you don't say the word vagina, but if you have a vagina, you definitely want to tune into this conversation. And even if you don't, right, your partner may need to tune into this conversation. So look, they know how to treat your vagina, right? So that you know as well. And this is what we're talking about. So who am I? The number one Black face of women in menopause. Yes, 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 yes. And I love having the conversation, getting other people's backstory, what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, because we all have a why. And I think you all have heard this before, but if you haven't, I was thrown into menopause at the age of 30 years old. And so I was thrown into a surgical menopause, caused these hot flashes that I'm having right now. Right? Caused the hot flash that I'm having right now. Either way, though, you don't see me looking down. You don't see me saying, oh my God, it's the end of life. I didn't just get a death sentence or anything. I just had another transition that hit quickly, right? They snatched those ovaries and the uterus and all those things out. And should I go back and ask them, can I get those back? No, right? It's not going to happen. And so I'm here and we have our guests, but you all make sure you mark your calendars, pull out your phone. Like I said, if it's not on the calendar, it does not exist. I don't know if that's the age of 42, brain fog, whatever it is. If I can't see it in the calendar, look, things can't just magically appear in my calendar. And so September 16th and 17th, we will be hosting MenoCon, you all. What is that? The Ultimate Menopause and Women's Wellness Conference right here in St. Mary's, Georgia. So if you've never been here, we're right on the coast. We're right at the Georgia-Florida line. So yes, you are. It was like almost 80 degrees today. I talked to someone the other day and they said it was 11 degrees. I was like, what? I don't even have clothes for 11-degree weather, okay? So tomorrow's even going to be warmer, but nevertheless, let's meet Miss Kim Vopni. That's her real name, you all, Kim Vopni, but she is the Vagina Coach. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. And you're not the only one. I get the hot flashes too. So I might be wiping my lip and sweating here too. So
right, it beads up right here and you're just like, nothing I can do. So Kim, let everyone know who you are, what you're doing in the world, and take us through the journey of like, how did you become the Vagina Coach?
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I started out, if I can go all the way back to 6th grade, I remember seeing a childbirth video, and that's kind of where it started, where I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to have any part of that. But I went home and I looked at my mom and I said, okay, well, she did it and my grandma did it and my aunts, and they're all still okay. But then as my mom got a little bit older and I was kind of watching, she would stop running, and then she would complain about her back pain and that her tummy would never flatten. And she so I started asking questions because I was curious. And then she told me a lot about her births. And then she started to tell me that she was now experiencing incontinence. So now she wasn't running anymore. And so it painted this picture of not going to do this. And at the time I just felt like, okay, well, that's just what happened. And my mom eventually had surgery for her incontinence and she's been fine since. She had a hysterectomy as well in her 50s because of heavy bleeding. And all the things I know now, I look back and I think, oh my gosh, had I known what I know now, my mom probably could have avoided both of those surgeries. Right. Anyway, kind of like you, where you can I have my ovaries back? You can't really get it. You can't really get it back. But
get it back.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it started. And then when I grew up and decided I did want to start a family after I got married, I was really determined to have a different story than my mom. And childbirth, I looked at that as a really prime opportunity to be preventive, right? And so at first I was actually investigating having a cesarean, an elective cesarean, because I thought, okay, well, maybe if you don't have give birth vaginally, then you'll be okay. Now what I know, of course, that's not true, but that's kind of what my mentality was at the time. Right. I did end up giving birth vaginally. I used midwives and they had recommended a biofeedback device to me called the Epino. And this is a product that's made in Germany. And so I purchased one and I had a really good experience. Yes, I used midwives. Yes, I was in a side lying birth position, which has a pelvic floor protectiveness to it. But I certainly kind of credit this device as well. And I thought, well, why doesn't everybody know about this device? And could I be a distributor here in Canada? So that's how it started. It was supposed to just be a little side thing. And then after the birth of my second son, I had used that product again. And now I actually started a website and I started to kind of, try to grow this thing. And then I ended up having an e-commerce store with all these pelvic health products. And I learned about pelvic floor physical therapy, which I'd never heard of before.
Most women
so
have.
That's kind of how it started. And then I was working primarily with pregnant women at the time. And my intention was to educate them about the pelvic floor so that we could prevent some of the challenges that people have and accept as normal. And my handle or my brand at the time was called Fitness Doula because I was, I am a personal trainer and I also had trained as a doula. But as I was going through, perimenopause, and as people were coming to me afterwards saying, well, I gave birth 15 years ago. Can you help me now? Or I've never given birth. Can you help me now? And I said, this isn't just a conversation for pregnancy. This is our whole lifespan. And menopause is a really important time. And that's often a time when a lot of challenges either show up for the first time or they start to scream at us a little bit louder, really. But Fitness Doula didn't really resonate with perimenopause and menopause, especially people who had never given birth before. So I knew I needed to make a change. And I was speaking at a conference. It's about 5 years ago now, I think. And it was a group of women entrepreneurs. And all of the speakers at this conference had been some sort of a business coach. And when I came up on stage, I said, now you have a vagina coach for your business. So it came out as kind of a joke. But then I was like, there you go, light bulb moment. That's it. So that's how I became the vagina coach.
Oh my gosh, I love it. But I love how you took us through the journey because we all have a why. And you were in search of answers of, okay, these are some things I don't want to experience. So let me see what's out there. What can I do? And I think the research and providing options, right? You gave options. So, and you're right, the vagina coach, because a lot of times once people hear doula, it's just like, wait, I don't have kids. I don't want kids, or I'm already done with having kids. So I don't need a doula or anything. But the vagina coach, I mean, look, ladies, we need a vagina coach in our life, right? Because I don't care whatever other things, surgeries and different things, transitions that we go through. Unless something really, really traumatic happens in our life, we're going to remain with our vagina. And so you mentioned something about pelvic floor therapy. This is one of the things I think from what I see and have seen lately have becoming more prevalent and more conversations about the pelvic floor. You're right. I had never heard of pelvic floor therapy and different things. And I was just like, well, what is this? Like, I know what the pelvic floor, but like what? So when I start researching and talking to different people, I'm like, oh my God, it's almost like our vulvar health and different things. Like a lot of these conversations are becoming more normalized now. I've seen more of it across social media and articles and different things. And I'm like, yes. Like things that we weren't taught about our vagina.
Yes.
Right? That all of it is not called the vagina, right? Yeah. All of it is not, the vagina is just one part. Like, it's not the whole private area. And so I think just the education and awareness behind it of, look, let's learn our anatomy first, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how many people go through life and they reach menopause, usually like in our 50s, most people, unless like yourself in surgical menopause, there are people who go through it earlier for whether it's surgery, chemical, or naturally. But it's, you think I've lived in this body for X number of years and I didn't know we had 3 openings. I didn't know that was called the vulva. I didn't know, you know what I mean? And it's not our fault. Like we just have never been told. And it's always kind of a taboo topic. And we also are fed messages from media that things are just part of being a woman or things are normal. And so we just kind of like, oh, well, I guess I just need to live with it. And social media has played a huge role in increasing awareness. And now it's still not the norm. I hope that eventually pelvic floor physical therapy becomes something just like the dentist. We just go every year preventively. I hope that happens. And I think that it will eventually. Right now, I'm just happy that the awareness is growing and more people are having this conversation. And that means more people are getting help and realizing they don't need to suffer.
And I love that. And you're right. There's still milestones to go. There's still changes, but at least now there's a little bit more of the conversations. And, some people are not comfortable, but a lot of times we're not comfortable talking about things that we don't know. Right. And so I'm glad that women such as yourself and different women that we've talked to as well are just bringing giving the education and then letting people know that you have options. I think for me, I'm just huge on options because I felt like I didn't have any. Right. Yeah. I had the option to be in pain. And this is what the doctor said. You can either be in pain or you can get a hysterectomy. I've already been in pain for X amount of years. So I don't think I want to be in pain anymore. So I think yes, Alex, I'll take the hysterectomy. Yes. With all of the pamphlets that she could possibly pull out, the little bill phone. I'm like, okay, thanks. But the pamphlets did me no justice, just to be honest.
Yeah.
I was able to read, but when things started happening, and they didn't all start happening at one time. So like you were even saying, all the things don't start happening with your vagina at one time, right? So it's like when that does happen, what can women do? And then as far as the pelvic floor, so let's just go back some. When a woman comes to you, what are some of their main concerns? What are some of the things that you hear quite often? And then what are some recommendations that you give to women to say, look, here are a few things, because the reality of it, everyone doesn't get the help. Right? Everyone can't afford the help.
Yeah. Yep.
And the way these insurance prices and different things that went up, seem like this year more and more people won't know that I don't have to suffer, but if I can't afford healthcare, or if I'm not even being heard, because like I said, I was in pain for some years, not by choice, but I was going to multiple doctors, and no one had an answer.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they even thought it was in my head. And I'm like,
yeah, that happens all the time. And you're right. Unfortunately, not everybody has access to the same options, to the same level of care, to the same, there's absolutely lots of barriers. However, there's a lot that people can do with simply just the education. And that's why I put out a lot of free content. I have stuff on my YouTube channel because there's a lot that people can do on their own, if just by being told what's normal, what's not, and what to do to fix it. So the most common things that people come to me for, incontinence is definitely a big one, and prolapse. Those are the two most common. And I would say actually it's starting to be more people with prolapse, only because that's something that I've dealt with. I've dealt with two different types of prolapse. And so a lot of people, when you hear the story of somebody who's been where you are, it helps you feel a little bit more, maybe that you trust them a bit more, or that you can relate to them, or they could relate to you. So those are hands down the two most common. So incontinence is where urine.
There. Can you just expound just a little bit, just in case someone's like, what's she saying? Prolapse? What is she talking about? Incontinence. Just give us a brief description, just in case someone's like, oh, I may resonate with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So prolapse, pelvic organ prolapse, also POP is sometimes how you might see it listed. Pelvic organ prolapse is when the bladder, the uterus, and or the rectum, those are the three most common. It can be the urethra, it can be the intestines as well, but bladder, uterus, rectum shift out of their anatomical position and they bulge into, or descend into the vagina. And it happens in stages, and early stage prolapse is often asymptomatic. Sometimes people have no idea. There are some people who have more advanced prolapse who have no idea. Like there's the stage of the prolapse does not indicate the severity or the level of symptoms that somebody might experience. Some of the more common symptoms with prolapse could be low back pain, feeling a sense of heaviness, feeling like something's inside their vagina. They feel like they have a tampon in there. Sometimes difficulty inserting a tampon. Of course, people in menopause who are no longer menstruating, they may not have that, but that might be if they have insertive sex with a partner, whether that's a finger, a toy, or a penis. If it's a male partner, there might be some discomfort there. There could be constipation, like difficulty either pooping or feeling like you don't get it all out. Same thing with urine. You might have difficulty either starting the flow of urine or feeling like you completely empty. So those are kind of some of the more common symptoms with prolapse. And you could have one of the of that type of prolapse, or you could have all three. Like there are people that have all three organs prolapsing. And then incontinence is where urine leaks out of the body when you don't want it to. So if we're not sitting on a toilet wanting to pee and urine's coming out of our body, then that's incontinence. And there's all sorts of terms: peasing, sneeze pee, light bladder leakage. You know, you can call it whatever you want, but it is, if urine's coming out, it's called incontinence. And it can be urine, or you can have anal incontinence where gas or stool leak out as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. The most common, I'll just expand one more thing. The most common type of incontinence is stress incontinence, stress urinary incontinence. So that's where if you laugh, cough, sneeze, jump, you know, you're exercising and a little bit of urine leaks out. That's stress urinary incontinence. And you can also have urge, where you can be doing whatever and something triggers your bladder, and all of a sudden it's like alarm bells are going off and you're racing to the bathroom, and sometimes you might not make it in time. And a little bit of urine leaks out, or sometimes you might have a whole release of your bladder. So those are the two main things that people come to me for. And from an incontinence perspective, it is very, very treatable. You do not need to accept pads as your destiny. It's not, you know, just part of being a woman and something that we need to accept. You can absolutely overcome that. And prolapse, if you catch prolapse early enough, I know many people who have completely healed their prolapse. Either that means reversing all of their symptoms, or sometimes it actually means reversing the stage of their prolapse. More advanced prolapse, more advanced, there would be actually a bulge visible right at the entrance to the vagina. Those are not to say you can't improve it, but the chances of completely reversing it is a little bit less, I would say. But you can absolutely overcome symptoms. You can improve what you are struggling with. And that's the one I feel like has the biggest mental health toll. Prolapse.
Wow. Thank you. See, you all, this is all about education, empowering, because I know women who are saying, you know what, I got to wear these pads, and some women feel ashamed. Some people are like, they don't want to have the conversations of incontinence or anything, and just like, I don't want anyone to know, so I'm just going to keep a liner on, or I'm just going to, you know, secretly wear these pads and different things, not knowing, once again, there are options, right? There are treatable options out here. Like, I can't stress it enough, and I think, as you see, I'm excited. There are options out here, ladies, that we don't have to suffer in silence. We don't have to do this alone. And Kim, you said you have a YouTube channel. Let everyone know what your YouTube channel is, you all. She says she has a lot of free content and different things up there, so that you can just do your own homework, so you're able to have a conversation with your provider, right? Whether that's your GYN, whether that's Kim, the Vagina Coach, right? But you can then have a conversation so you can make an informed decision.
Yes, that's exactly it. That not everybody has enough information. They don't know what they don't know, and they don't have the information that allows them to, first of all, recognize they have choices, but then be able to make the best choice for their body. And so on YouTube, if you put Vagina Coach into Google, you'll find me on YouTube or Pinterest or Instagram, wherever. But the fundamentals for people, and this is accessible for anybody.
Right.
Keep hydrated. So a lot of people restrict fluids when they are afraid of leaking, or they're afraid that, you know, if they're feeling vulnerable on their pelvic floor, they avoid liquids. You have to stay hydrated. That will actually improve symptoms. You have to eat a lot of fiber so that you avoid constipation and straining. A lot of people, especially in perimenopause, when we have all these hormonal fluctuations, and then when we get to menopause, we no longer have estrogen circulating around. That influences the tissues in the walls of our vagina. It influences around our bladder, our vulvas, and it influences our poops as well. And if we're not pooping properly, and if we're straining, that is damaging to the pelvic floor. So those are both free. The other well, you have to pay for your food, but you don't need a therapist for that. The other thing is to learn how to do a Kegel exercise properly. And this is something that the best, like gold standard for sure, is seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist and having your pelvic floor assessed, but not everybody has access. That doesn't mean you can't learn how to do a Kegel. And I've got tons of visualizations and videos about how to do a Kegel. Learn how to do that, but understand that Kegels are not the only thing. That's one form of pelvic floor exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to appreciate that just like the rest of our body, that sometimes we need to strengthen, sometimes we need to stretch, the pelvic floor is the same. So I've got a whole bunch of different pelvic floor exercise videos on my YouTube channel to learn how to relax the pelvic floor, but also how to activate it and coordinate it into whole body movement. It's not just sit at every red light and squeeze your pelvic floor, right? It's a lot. It's a bigger picture than that. But again, that's free. You can learn how to do that. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? I guess the other thing I'll say is if you can see a pelvic floor physio, fantastic. If not, there are devices that have biofeedback that can sometimes be a helpful teacher, but we also have our own biofeedback with our own fingers. Or if we have a partner, and then they're a human, they have fingers. Maybe if
not your blow up dolls, okay?
But we can explore our own anatomy. We can use a mirror and look at our vulva. We can use our fingers and insert them, and then say, okay, I'm going to do a Kegel. Do I feel like there's a hug of my fingers? Do I feel like there's a gentle drawing up? Do I feel like there's a let go? And is it balanced? So we can evaluate ourselves if we know the information.
I love that, Kim, because I do believe so many women have just been taught, right? Or we've been trained to have, like you said, the mindset and different things of just exploring and experimenting with our own bodies just to say, okay, now, but when I do that, I can have a conversation with you. I can have a conversation with my doctor to say, hey, this doesn't feel right, or A, B, and C was happening, because now I'm tracking and trending and I'm paying attention to my own body. Because when we go to the doctors, and I'm only giving them information and they're basing what I'm telling them, symptoms, feelings, whatever, pain, whatever that looks like. And then they're prescribing or giving a treatment plan based off of what I'm saying. So ladies, I do encourage all of us, pay attention to your body. No one knows your body really better than you do. I mean,
yeah. And one thing I just want to say, just to highlight one thing you just said there, when, as much as I absolutely value medical providers, we need them on our healthcare team, but the word there is team. Yes. Again, not everybody will have access, but if we can explore, whether it's Googling people and looking at blogs or watching videos of pelvic health professionals or nutritionists or what have you, finding out the root cause of what we're dealing with. So why do I have incontinence? Is it because my muscles are not relaxing, like they're overactive? Or is it because I have laxity? Or is it because they're not reacting in time? Right. Or is it I have some ligament damage? Or is it that I have vaginal dryness and I need some estrogen? Or so finding out the root cause is really important. And unfortunately right now, what many people do have access to is a family care physician. So that's their first line of defense. And then oftentimes it's sent down the path of medications or surgery, which those two are absolutely valuable options for many people. But there's so many other things that need to be explored first to get to that root cause. Because a lot of people go into surgery and then they come out and they don't have a symptom anymore, but they haven't fixed what contributed to that happening in the first place. So the chance of it happening again is very high.
I agree, Kim, simply because the doctor told me, I think it could be endometriosis, but we won't know until we remove your organs and do the pathology and cut them open. Yeah. And I'm just like, so am I guinea pig? Like you just, do you understand what you're telling? Do you understand what you're telling me? And so you're right. And I'm with you. I value doctors, medical professionals, but you're right. We need to have a team of people, because I remember even from the hysterectomy, it was mental work that I had to do. There was physical changes that were happening. There were sexual changes that were happening, right? Your sensuality, all of these things happening, and you're just like, hold on, the mood swings, all of these things, and not really knowing who do I talk to, but knowing that there are people out here, there are resources, right? Kim's YouTube channel, you all, that's a resource. Kim, let everyone know, because I definitely want to respect your time as well. A few things that you did say, you all, she mentioned some lifestyle changes, right? Just some lifestyle things, that activities that we can do every single day. She mentioned a nutrition, right? A lot of times some of us are not paying a lot of attention until we get to menopause with our weight and different things. Kim, you say you're a physical trainer as well. So I give us just like 2 tips for women who are doing, I didn't go through perimenopause, you all, so I don't know that whole transitional thing right there. When I say I was thrown into it, I was literally thrown into it. Woke up, no ovaries or anything, and I was in menopause. Yeah. So a lot of women have the weight gain and different things as well. And I know you have just a few minutes, but maybe 1 or 2 exercises, because some women are like, I'm running and I'm doing this and I'm still gaining weight or I'm not. So give us a couple of, maybe 1 tip or 2 on that. And then what is a symptom if someone is having the time that they should really go see a pelvic therapist?
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, again, I think it's something that we should be treating like our oral health. And I think if you have a vagina, if you were born with a uterus, that you would benefit from seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist once a year. So that's my one statement. But if if it's something that is not accessible and maybe you need to save up money, or maybe it's quite a journey for you to get to one, then signs would be if you are leaking urine, if you are dealing with frequency or urgency, if you have chronic constipation, if you have low back pain, like chronic low back pain, if you feel pain or discomfort with sex, or you feel like something's in your vagina, those would all be immediate signs that would tell me that you would benefit from seeing a physio. And a lot of people will say, well, is it not, I have a PAP every year, or I see my urogyn or my gynecologist every year. And again, I'm not discounting that. I think there's value in the team, but I think there is a much more thorough assessment. There's usually about an hour of time that happens. The internal evaluation is not an hour, but the time spent with that person is about an hour. And you learn a whole heck of a lot about your body. So I think it truly is, I just think it's life-changing for so many people. So that's one thing. The other thing would be weight gain is something that is commonly associated with perimenopause, lots of hormonal fluctuations. And a lot of people will then say, okay, well, I'm gaining weight and I haven't really changed anything. So now I have to change. So I'm going to work out harder. I'm going to do more cardio. I'm going to work out more times a week. I'm going to eat less calories. And, there's always been that old adage of eat less, move more. And it doesn't work that way. And especially as we are approaching menopause, we have our estrogens help us with cortisol, helping us manage that. And we often are at a stressy time. Perimenopause and menopause are stressful. We also, obviously the last 2 years for the entire world has been stressful, but on top of that, sometimes we have children that we're still raising. We are in a relationship for some of us. We may have aging parents that we're managing. We might be working full time. Lots of stressors are happening. And a lot of people typically have more elevated cortisol production, which is a big contributor. And if we then go and exercise, which also elevates our cortisol, like exercise intensely, we're not necessarily helping the situation. So sometimes backing the intensity up is what we need. And the same thing is in the pelvic floor. It's not just about go squeeze your vagina and do more Kegels. Sometimes we need to learn how to relax. So walking, strength training for about 20 minutes twice a week. And strength training, we need that for our bones. We need that for our muscles. We need that for our brain. It's a good stress reducer. And interval training. I like high intensity intervals as part of that weight training. 20 minutes. So we don't need to be spending, 45 minutes, an hour at the gym. Go for your walk, do some yoga, meditation. I highly recommend that as well. And strength training 2, maybe 3 times a week. And then again, back to the water and the fiber. So lots of people will say half your body weight in ounces per day. I think we benefit from a little bit more than that. So I say very bare minimum 2 liters, ideally about 3 liters of water and around 30-ish, 35 grams of fiber. If you're not used to that much fiber, gradually build up to that. Otherwise you might have a little bit of discomfort. So my top tip for that would be actually backing up the intensity and doing more kind of calming, but make sure we have the intervals for the resistance training.
Wow. I love that, because I know for myself, when I increase because I was dealing with some bloating. So when I increase my fiber and keeping my stress levels low,
Yeah.
and getting more rest, actually,
Yes.
I have seen just a drastic change in my energy. Of course, taking my vitamins, such as because my vitamin D was really, really low. I'm in the teens low. So just finding those things that I'm like, you know what? But this is what I'm telling you, my water increase, my fiber increase, and not even really changing a whole lot of my eating habits.
Yeah.
And different things. And I love to walk. So I'm glad you said that as well. I love walking. It just, I don't know, it clears my head.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
all of the things, heart health, all of these things, but it really just mentally for me just helps me release. And then I can feel those good endorphins and things just embrace, feel like the sun and the trees and everything just embracing me. Like,
Totally.
That's metaphorically, but that's what the walking and things do for me. So if you're not out moving and saying, oh my God, I just feel like I need to lift 50 and 60 pounds and all this stuff, you heard Kim, she said 20 minutes a few times out of the week. So Kim, look, we just want to say thank you. You're the best way that people can connect with you, Kim.
Vaginacoach.com is my website, and Kim at vaginacoach.com is my email. I'm happy to respond to emails. You can also book discovery calls with me if you have questions. And then again, on social media, if you just put Vagina Coach in, you'll find me in a bunch of places.
Look, all you need to type in is Vagina Coach, and she's probably the only person that's going to pop up. I love the branding with that because it's definitely a brand that stands. I don't think anyone who will listen to this will forget the Vagina Coach. Okay. So you all make sure you connect with her, book your discovery call, get the help you need because there are options. I'm going to keep saying that there are options. I'm passionate about options so that you can make an informed decision. Kim, the last thing that I wanted to touch on when you said making this yearly, right? I just believe the movement that's happening and things going. My prayer is that legislation and different, women in health initiatives, more funding, more of these things so that if you can have a pap smear every year, then we can have all of the other. If we have mammograms every year, then our pelvic floor needs to be every year. Taking care of our vagina outside of the pap smear every year. Bone density tests and different things, right? Especially for women who are in menopause. So menopause is not a disease. It is a transition, but it can lead to other things. And so that's why we're here giving you the education. Want you to be empowered to say, this is not the end of life for you. This is just the beginning. But look, you got to switch up. Ask, because a lot of these tests, if you don't ask for, your doctor's not going to mention.
Yeah.
Right. They won't even mention it. So make sure you all connect with Kim, the Vagina Coach. She was in the building on today. Make sure you go to her website, follow her on social media, and then make sure you go on YouTube, right? Eat up the content, but more importantly, ladies, we have to invest in ourselves. So even to your partners, you really want to give a lifelong gift, make an investment into that woman to say, you know what, I'm helping you so I can help me too. So we're in this together. We're a team. So Kim, I just want to say thank you. This has just been amazing. Just a wealth full of knowledge and definitely terms and things that a lot of women just don't know about. And so ladies, get your pelvic floor check. Go look, do the research, call your insurance company, and then let's fight together that a lot of these things become a part of our insurance plan so that women can get the help that we need, so we can go ahead and utilize the options. Until the next time, you all, I am Carlika Katrina Basnight-Menendez. Yes, all of that. And this has been another episode, if you want to say, of Menopause March Madness. We're not mad for real, but what we are going to be doing, we're going to be fighting for more women's health initiatives in the healthcare realm. Like it's a need. And so whatever you can do in your community, let's all link together because we are doing teamwork. And when women get together, we can do some amazing things. So wherever you are in the world, remember, when you change your perspective, you will change your life. We'll talk to you soon.